welcome to a stream team debate. We're going to be discussing an interesting topic. Is Grimdark just Edgelord cringe? So let's bring on some guests. First off, Holy Ninja.
At least it wasn't the boys.
Yeah, the boys is not that good. Let's bring on Mr. Noble Commando. Oh.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm so glad that we brought up the boys, because the boys is like the perfect. Oh, can you hear me very well? By the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I didn't know if it was actually picking up my mic or not, because it was barely glowing whenever I talked. Anyway, I'm glad you brought up the boys, because the boys is a perfect example of why Grimdark is Edgelord cringe.
I want to call the boys Grimdark.
Well, I mean, I would say that, okay, like, I'm gonna make something clear. There's a difference between Grimdark and Gritty. Now, Gritty is interesting because Gritty has some kind of, like, nuance, and that they're, like, protagonists have redeemable traits, and are, like, actually, like, heroic and likable people. Or at least they are, like, likable people. Grimdark is just pure darkness, pure edgy, pure just, like, there is no good or redeemable, like, anything in Grimdark. It's just all darkness and miserable and bleak.
Well, okay. Well, before we kind of get started, I was having a lengthy discussion with Noble Commando about the psychological effects of pornography on the human brain. Which you said, and I quote, is fake science? Which at some point
is
I
true.
would very much be interested to hear you say.
It is
okay.
fake science.
What proof do you have that it is fake science? I'm curious.
The fact that they did a study on it, and then they're like saying, "Oh, it has bad effects on it," but then it's like, "Oh, but we also do studies on video games," and it's like it doesn't negatively affect your like thing, and so it's like, maybe they're lying to you. Maybe it's a conspiracy. Maybe media doesn't have, like, harmful effects on your brain or whatever, and that you just people are just fear mongering. That's my fucking tinfoil hat conspiracy theory.
What if it is several dozen studies, mostly made by conservatives?
Oh, that's that it's biased because they're all conservatives.
Wouldn't it not be, based on the logic you have previously espoused?
Well, no, because we need, like, okay, well, look. Conservatives were like the SJWs before SJWs. They were just as cringe back in the day. And then the fucking left became cringe. It became more cringe. And the fact that the left is also economically illiterate, so they're even more cringe. So the social justice warriors are, like, more cringe than the boomer conservatives could ever hope to be. Yeah, the conservatives are cringe, especially Christian conservatives. Or just religious conservatives. They're just cringe. Anyway, back to Grimdark, because that's the main focus.
Okay. I'm glad that we got your perspective on it. It's not necessarily backed up by research.
Christian conservatives wanted to censor Doom and wanted to censor Dungeons and Dragons, so they were pretty cringe back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s.
Some.
So, so what are your examples of so why do you think that video games and pornography are
We're not talking about this. We're talking about Grimdark.
fair? I find your position on that particular topic more interesting. Technically.
Why do you find that more interesting? Because I had all of this stuff planned. I even rewatched the Terrible Writing Advice Grimdark episode because that's basically everything wrong with Grimdark. It's that you can't have any happy or pleasant or just anything that conveys a positive emotion, and it's just edgy shit, trash, poopy shit. When it's just all bad, negative, horrible, awful shit.
Okay, let's just start. Okay, first we need definitions.
Okay.
Let's have a definitions that everybody can agree on.
So I'm gonna be using the Grimdark from Wikipedia, just right up here. I'm sharing the screen. Subject to speculative fiction that's particularly dystopian, amoral, and violent. It's very much inspired by Warhammer. Fiction where nobody is honorable and might makes right. And they're going for the nasty, brutish, short, and dark arc that life really was. Oh, that's interesting. Dark and grim and dark tone, sense of realism, monarchs are useless and heroes are flawed, agency of the protagonists. Characters get to choose between good and evil and are just as lost as we are, rather than having it resolve around how the heroes defeat the Dark Lord and everything being predestined. So, would that be a fair definition?
For the most part, yeah.
Anything you would add?
All right.
I noticed. I did read the Wikipedia article earlier today. I did notice. I think that they included Batman as an example of Grimdark, and I have to say that is fucking bullshit because Batman is not Grimdark. Batman is a good character, has a good moral foundation, and that he's not a fucking edgelord. And
Version.
Batman has a moral code of honor, and Batman is a good moral character, and he's not Grimdark.
Well, let's ask a question. What are the most popular quote unquote grimdark pieces of fiction out there currently?
On the internet, Warhammer 40k. Actually, yeah. For fucking weebs, it's fucking Tokyo Ghoul. But yeah, just fucking sci-fi. It depends on which demographic. If you're talking to fucking sci-fi nerds, yeah, it's Warhammer 40k. If you're talking to fucking weebs, it's probably Tokyo Ghoul, or I guess Akame ga Kill, which that's fucking shit.
You're missing one.
Oh, what am I missing?
You're missing the most popular Grimdark that is the most inspirational ones from the good old 80s of Berserk.
Oh yeah, Berserk.
Yeah,
wait.
the one.
Yeah,
the one that
Berserk is
inspires
pretty
mental.
Well, wait, no. That doesn't count because Guts is a good person, isn't he? What?
He straight up tried to rape Casca at one point.
What?
What? You never read the manga?
I've never read
episode. Oh yes, that. Oh, wonderful.
I've never read the manga or watched any of the anime. I'm sorry. I don't know.
I don't know anything about.
I know nothing about Berserk. I just thought that Guts was like the good guy, and then he beats up Griffith because he's a fucking flamboyant faggot guy, and then he tried to rape Casca.
Okay, time for education on this. So, Guts has a lot of redeeming traits, a ton, but he is severely flawed. His childhood is like if I described his origin story and the first arc in the manga, you would call him an edgelord. You would people would say that it is super edgy, but the thing is that is not all a Berserk. Berserk is like the epitome of grimdark fantasy, but it's also has a lot of good people in it, but they're also allowed to be flawed. And also Griffith's the worst.
Yeah, fuck Griffith. He's a fucking flamboyant evil bastard.
Yes, and also, so far, Guts has only beaten Griffith before he became a demon. Afterwards, his record is 0-3. And that is current right now post-author death.
Yeah, no, I feel bad for people who are fans of
well, at
Berserk
least they're getting a conclusion. So
no, the author, what's his name?
Not top of my head, but yes.
Okay, but yeah, no, he did leave enough notes behind so that his assistant could finish the book.
It wasn't an assistant. It's currently headed by a personal friend.
Oh,
and
I thought it was his
way
like
it's
personal
going. So
assistant
here's
that
how
was, like, helping
the way
him or
it's
whatever.
ending is that the personal friend. There are some notes, but his personal friend is mostly going by memory, and if he does, they're basically going to be writing until the point that he forgets.
So, from my examination of of a couple of the main popular Grimdark stuff, i.e., A Song of Ice and Fire, First Law, and to a certain extent, Mark Lawrence's Prince of Thorns, as well as Warhammer, I would not say that their popularity is because of the edgelordness. I would say that their popularity is because the struggles that their protagonists go through are generally somewhat harder than they are with more traditional fiction. And so it's a lot. There's a couple of reasons why it is, and it's satisfying to them for a couple of reasons. The victory by the protagonist is usually seen as extremely satisfying because they had to overcome extremely difficult obstacles, and often the protagonists are flawed, which makes them easier to relate to, because they are, for the most part, cathartic motivational heroes, or even just very, very flawed protagonists, for example.
Okay, but like, here's the thing, though. And this is why I hate fucking Grimdark in Star. Like, when your protagonists do horrible, irredeemable shit that would make them villains in a normal story, I don't care for them. I don't like them. Fuck the Imperium of Man. They could go fuck themselves. Fuck whatever the fuck that guy's name is from Tokyo Ghoul. I hate his ass. He's a fucking edgelord, fucking emo piece of shit. And he's probably a fucking homosexual.
Oh no. Oh please.
I swear, there's like so much fucking like gay torture. Like, there's like gay torture scenes in that fucking show. It's fucking disgusting.
Okay, I got a question. What about Warhammer Fantasy?
I know nothing about Warhammer Fantasy because I'm gonna be honest, fantasy is not a genre that interests me very much. I remember.
Okay, so if you're talking about Grimdark, the actual origins of Grimdark, especially the Warhammer take on Grimdark, is back in fantasy. But in Warhammer Fantasy, even the people, there are honorable people, there are good people.
Are there good factions?
Yes, but there are good factions, but they have to. But
they have
because
to kill.
of the nature,
they have to kill orphans because the orphans were tainted by demons, and there's nothing you could do because fuck you. That's the way we wrote it. Feel bad. Fuck you. Feel miserable. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's why. I hate fucking Warhammer.
So we did get a request from Wasia to come on. He very much wants to.
Oh yeah, let him on. Let him on, dude.
Oh no. Oh no.
Hey! He fucking blocked me. So I would love the chance to get to talk to him again.
Yeah. So I would definitely say that I don't know if they're necessarily good individual characters in Warhammer, or at least like good higher ups.
According to some people I've heard, there are good characters, but they all work for shitty factions and they don't bother. You know what? This faction that we work for, the Imperium of Man, sucks ass. Maybe we should start a new faction, or become the new Imperium of Man, or this is like the Republic of Man, where the Constitutional Republic of Man, where we decide we will not infringe on people's property rights in order to fight against evil space demons.
Okay. All right. Quick interim. Let's bring in Wasia.
Hey, Wasia, unblock me on Discord so that I can send you tomboy pics again.
1 second, let me try resetting.
Noble, if he has requested you not do that.
Did he do? Did he say that I don't do that?
If he has requested you stop.
No, he blocked me because I told him that religion was inherently evil.
You do realize that religion is the basis for nearly every single one of your beliefs, right?
I know that a lot of the logical conclusions to a lot of my beliefs came from religion, but religion causes people to believe in irrational, stupid things, and irrational, stupid things cause people to do irrational, stupid, violent things to other people for no reason. And so the less irrational, stupid things that we believe in, the more functional our society. Did he leave because I'm going on this fucking
No,
tangent?
he's having an issue. Technical
Okay.
issue.
All right. Anyway, so yes, the more irrational, stupid things that we believe.
I'm gonna have to open up the YouTube, aren't I?
The more
For
irrational.
some strange reason, I can't hear any audio.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Technical issue. I can hear you. With
I guess he can't hear us.
So,
irrational, stupid things. I'm assuming that you're referring to stuff like the Crusades. Is that correct?
That and the Salem witch trials, and also the jihad, the fucking Islamic jihadists.
Okay. Do you even know the historical context of them?
So
they literally blow themselves up because they think that they're going to go to heaven, and they get the 72 virgins or 77 virgins or however many fucking virgins they get.
So would you say that
all of you are very loud right now. I'm sorry. I'm trying to play around with the audio settings. And hold on, wait a second.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear all of you. The problem is that you're all too loud.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just adjust the mic settings. So, how about
So
that?
what the heck?
Hello.
Okay, hi. Okay.
So,
So what were you yapping about, boy?
Me? I was saying that believing in irrational, stupid things causes you to enact irrational, stupid actions, like invading a piece of land because you think it belongs to your god, or blowing yourselves up so that you could bang some 77 virgins, or
Or how about
doing other stupid, irrational shit.
Or how about practicing euthanasia and exterminating an entire group of people because they are genetically inferior to you?
That is also an irrational, stupid belief.
Yes.
But it's not
Congratulations.
one based in. It's not one based in something. It's not one based in a sort of. It's not one based in a thing that is unprovable. You could prove that eugenics is fucking bullshit, and I will use the fucking evidence of the Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. The fact that humans have Neanderthal DNA because they bred with Neanderthals, and so humans evolved from breeding with Neanderthals, and so because that we expanded our gene pool, we became a better species and we took over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who believes in eugenics is fucking retarded, and that they should probably kill. No, I can't say that. Never mind. That's too much for YouTube.
Nobody's ever going to find this anyway.
I want to be careful. I want to, especially when it's not my channel.
You're incredibly loud. Please adjust your mic.
Oh no, that's because I just yell everything.
That could be something you might want to work on.
Hold on. Shit. I don't know how to adjust it.
And I will adjust it. I'm moving it down to 54%.
Hello?
Alright, can we please get back on topic? Please.
Fair enough.
Oh
All
yeah,
right,
we were talking
so
about okay,
I-
right.
all of-
Okay. What? We already talked about Warhammer. Okay.
Not enough.
What? Well, if we could do that at a later point. Noble genre has an exception to the rule. What is that one exception to you? What do you think is the best example of Grimdark?
I don't know if this counts or not, but I'm going to say Blue Eye Samurai, which is a new show on Netflix that I like. And Mizu, she does a lot of shitty things, and she has a really shitty backstory. She's like a mixed race, part Japanese, part European. That's why she has blue eyes, and she kills a bunch of people that some people that didn't necessarily deserve to be killed, and then she was treated like shit by the all of Japanese society because she's mixed race, and then she goes around trying to kill all the white men in Japan. Because this is during the Tokugawa Edo shogunate period, whatever. So this is during the time when contact with the outside world was forbidden. So yeah, the Europeans aren't allowed in Japan, so she's going around killing them, partially because she thinks she's a freak, and that everyone around her thinks she's a freak, and that she kind of it's sort of interesting because she they literally call her a demon, and she's basically fucking John Wick fucking killing everybody, and it almost she is a demon in some ways, but she's also kind of hot.
You're all incredibly loud, by the way. I want all of you to know this.
Yeah.
We're trying to speak at a particular pitch. Maybe turn.
I'm just gonna try going. I'm gonna try doing this through my phone. It won't let me fix the volume. For some strange reason, streamers is being schism.
Hello? Can you
I'll
guys hear me?
I'll do it through my
Guys hear me?
phone. I'll be back. We can hear you.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Anyway, yeah, no, Blue Eye Samurai. Also, Wissia might like that.
So why would you say that that's good, whereas something like Warhammer is not?
Because I don't know, because I feel like Bizu is not like a shitty asshole.
What I'm hearing a lot
she
of
cried
is
when she had to kill this deaf girl who like she was like she had to kill her because like she's being held captive by this like fucking like mob guy, and like if she tried to kill him, like the mob would go after her, and like these this other lady that like she like got she's trying to get information about, so that's why she's trying to kill this girl. Anyway, she had to kill her because reasons, and she cries afterwards. She like feels like shit, and she's like she realizes that the actions that she's doing are fucking terrible, but she's like also tried to kill all the European men in Japan, and she's like fucking psychotic, and that she's also been like backstabbed in her fucking past by her ex-husband, so she had to kill because he tried to, or he allegedly tried to turn her in to the authorities. We don't know if it was her, or we don't know if it was him or her mother that turned her in. But yeah, it's a Mizu is a likable character, and also that there are other characters like Ringo, who was born an amputee, and he's this really nice, like, wholesome guy, and he is like just so like full of like kindness and like positive energy, like and he like has like these great ambitions. He's like, I want to be a warrior. I want to be like your apprentice, Mizu. You know, and he's just like a nice guy, even though like and he follows her around, even though like she's like going around like killing a bunch of dudes and like assassinating bunch of people. Yeah, no,
So what makes?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what makes the setting grimdark?
I don't know if it actually counts or if it's just gritty.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, finally. Anyway, what the heck? What would I disappear on?
Just Noble doesn't like Grimdark. Grimdark.
That's stupid. You're stupid.
Samurai and why it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Like Grimdark Grimdark is a genre of fiction, and like any other, you can have really great shit and really bad shit, like
all
friggin'
really
fantasy.
It's
why
like
would
fantasy.
I want to read something that's inherently miserable and shitty?
Because it isn't about how inherently miserable and shitty it is. It's about the unbreakable spirit of humanity versus the indifference of a horrible cosmos.
Well, yes, but the unbreakable spirit of humanity should be able to beat up the bad guys, like the evil people, like it says.
You can, you do. It happens all the time.
Fuck your tyrannical religious dictatorship. Fuck your fucking space Cthulhu demon bullshit. Fucking satanic fucking fucking fetish garbage.
Holy crap! Keep this professional. Stop waffling.
May we please keep this professional?
Yes.
Yes.
Please stop waffling.
So
fuck you.
A lot of what you're saying is a lot of personal preference, and I haven't necessarily heard that many arguments against Grimdark as to necessarily why it's bad, other than you don't like it because you think it should be a certain way.
All right, I'll give you an example. Like in the Doom reboot of Doom, like I guess it like I don't know if it like it's not necessarily I don't know if it is Grimdark or not. But anyway, like Doom guy or the Doom guy in this version is like an ancient warrior, and he just all he wants to do is like kill the demons, and he is like set on killing the demons, and he will just violently massacre all of the every demon that he gets across. And we don't know why, or well, I guess if you've finished Doom Eternal, which I don't, you maybe know why. But like it's like in the first game at least, we don't know why he's doing this, or we don't like really know a whole lot about him other than the fact that he is just man who is literally too angry to die. And
He's also a horrible monster, by the way.
yeah, but he kills like fucking like demons and shit, and he's see Doom
Yeah.
guy is what Warhammer 40k needs. Warhammer 40k needs a fucking.
They already have it.
Well,
They already have it.
That's
It's the entire Imperium of Man. The entire Imperium of Man is just the freaking Doomslayer. The Grey Knights in particular are literally
the Doomslayer
just.
wouldn't hurt like people, like wouldn't hurt a human, but the
He would kill a human being if they got in the way. I have no doubt about that. Like, do you remember the opening monologue of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal? The opening monologue is, "They are rage, brutal, and without mercy, but you will be worse. Rip and tear until it is done." They make no bones about it. You're not playing as a hero, Noble. You're not playing as a noble savior. You're playing as a vicious monster who was created for the sole purpose of destroying the demons. You are playing as a weapon of war, and he will fulfill his purpose till the bitter end. That's what makes him so awesome. It isn't just because he's killing the demons. It's because he is a force of nature, of pure, unbridled hatred and destruction.
The demons actually fear.
And
yes, and it just so happens he's killing the baddies.
I don't think the Chaos Gods fear the Imperium of Man. I think that they kind of like try to intentionally piss them off and try to like mess with them, and that's why they like turn people into demons and force them to kill their own citizens or taint them by the warp or whatever bullshit. So it's like, haha,
they feared the Emperor.
We're gonna fucking manipulate you and like toy with you.
Yeah,
but no,
they fear the Emperor.
The demons
though.
in hell, the hell demons from Doom they're fucking terrified of the Doom guy. They're like,
yeah, they try to kill him anyway.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
I don't necessarily see an
You're missing.
Let me get this one point in, and then I'll let you go. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. So, I don't necessarily see an inherent problem. It honestly makes the Chaos Gods more intimidating villains when it's basically just their purpose is to cause pain and suffering. And so the Imperium of Man has to do necessary evils in order to keep evil.
Yeah, but it makes it so that why should it's like okay, but if they're like so horrible, like they're like a villain Sue though is the problem. They're so horrifically evil and destructive and harmful that they make the Imperium of Man do horrible things in order to survive, just to keep on. Like, and that's the only way that they could fight back. That's just so bleak and disgusting. I don't know why anybody would want to root for the Imperium of Man or why they would even care, because it's just like, wow, that's fucking like horrific. Like, and there's nobody who just has this just pure hatred of chaos, who is just so fueled by rage of chaos, who's just. It's just their primal urge is to just see chaos, just to take Khorne's skull and fucking bash it against a fucking concrete floor till he fucking brain and then fucking rip Slanesh in half. Like,
calm down.
You don't
calm down.
You are describing the Grey Knights.
No, I'm describing the Grey Knight.
No, you're describing the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are a special order of Space Marines whose sole purpose for being is the hunting down and eradication of demons. They perma-kill demons. Also, the Emperor of Man freaking exists in the worshipping of the Emperor, in the lore, by the way, is empowering him and making him a greater and greater threat to...
settings that
cool. That's
freedom
that's
of religion
fine.
is
No, go.
not having freedom of religion in an empire and forcing you to worship the Imperium of Man to fight literal
The
fucking
Emperor.
demons is cringe. I should be able to fight them with shotguns and chainsaws.
You do.
Okay,
It's
AFGs.
just that you have to believe in something because
I believe in
fundamentally the problem.
tomboys.
Well, the problem is with the Imperium of Man, it was actually the Emperor was preaching fundamental atheism.
And he was base, and his entire
Anti-theism.
solution would have worked.
Well,
His solution
no,
is
he
like
was
the warp
cringe.
can't hurt you if you think the warp doesn't exist and that they can't like. Because if you don't believe the warp exists, then the warp can't hurt you because it can't manifest into anything. The Emperor was based. He was absolutely right.
Noble, you need to stop.
Actually, you know what? The Emperor of Man is the fucking Doomslayer. Because he made chaos fucking terrified.
Okay.
Because they're like, oh shit, we don't want to not exist. We like existing. We like being pieces of fucking shit, pieces of fucking manipulating fucking assholes. So we need to put a stop to this. We need to corrupt his son.
Pause.
Stop.
Pause. Okay. I think we may need to create a timer or something. So, but let's kind of pause, take it down a notch. It seems like you're getting really passionate about this when this doesn't necessarily need to be a passionate subject.
Yes.
I hate 40K with a passion, though.
You know what? I hate Halo now.
Let's don't do 40K. Okay, let's don't do 40K or anything Warhammer. Let's move on because we're talking about Grimdark as a topic. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, I'll present an interesting case, and you have to explain why it is not a Grimdark story or so. The Tale of the Children of Hurin. I would argue it is a Grimdark story, even though the universe is not Grimdark.
Okay.
So what do you guys think of when I tell you? Do any of you know the tale?
I am intimately familiar with the Tale of Hurin.
Never heard of this.
So the idea is that this man named Hurin was a hero of the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, and he
against Morgoth.
Mm-hmm.
So in Lord of the Rings, we're in the world of Lord of the Rings,
mm-hmm.
in the First Age,
mm-hmm. And he was able to. He paid pretty much the worst price that anybody in Middle-earth has ever had to pay because he stayed behind to protect the escape of the king that he was serving. And he ended up being captured alive, and because he mocked the Dark Lord to his face, he was set upon a chair and Morgoth said, I'm specifically going to hound your family and make them have misfortune all their days. So, and of the tales that Tolkien wrote, this has the highest number of character deaths, largest number of misfortunes, as well, and the largest number of mistakes by a main protagonist, i.e. Turin.
Right.
Is that a fair summary of the Children of Hurin?
Yes, it's essentially a combination of, if you can think of a tragic mythological tale, it's in the blender.
Mm-hmm. I guess what would be the difference between tragedy and grimdark? Is there a difference or no?
I think it would necessarily have to be the way that it ends for the main protagonist. Because usually a tragedy almost always ends in some kind of loss and some kind of failing because of a tragic flaw in the character. And there's meant to be a moment in the tragedy where the character realizes not only their own tragic flaw, but how it had ruined them. This is a pretty classic and basic structure in most ancient Greek tragedies. There's always the big catharsis and the loss at the end of it. Like, think the tragedy of Oedipus or I don't know,
Bellerophon.
Yeah, just any ancient Greek tragedy you can think of. They have this very similar structure to them. And this is not necessary in a Grimdark story.
Mm-hmm. So, one of my thoughts as far as Grimdark goes is most of the popular Grimdark stories do have good but flawed people. A Song of Ice and Fire is the main one, where the main characters that a lot of people will root for are people like Ned Stark, Jon Snow, Tyrion to a certain extent because he's somewhat more moral than the rest of the people around him, and then Jaime when he is finished with his redemption arc, or at least when he is currently embarking on his redemption arc. That seems most of the stories that seem to not resonate as far as Grimdark goes is where there are zero good people and zero redeeming elements, unless it's via rule of contrast. Is that a fair summation?
I would say that all Grimdark have irredeemable like heroes and villains where everybody's a shit. Because then if there was irredeemability to it, then it wouldn't be Grimdark. It would just be gritty. It would be something like Call of Duty, World at War, or John Wick, or
Redemption is actually a theme that runs in a lot of Grimdark stories. It's particularly so whenever there's a final stand or a noble sacrifice at the end of the character's particular story. Like that redemption is absolutely a theme.
Okay, well then those aren't Grimdark stories.
But that is Grimdark though.
That's the
and it can be
right,
yeah.
So are you really saying, Noble, I get me when I'm wrong, that you're saying that if it has any sense of hope, either hope or goodness in the world, then it's not Grimdark?
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Then you don't know what Grimdark is, because necessary to a Grimdark setting is hope. You need to have
40K.
There is hope
okay.
Holy shit. There is hope. You just don't know anything about the lore.
That's not hope. That's fucking disturbing. That's fucking horrific. That's not hope. That's horrible.
Okay, pause. Okay, pause. No, guys. Okay.
We'll go back to that later.
Okay, hold on. So you're complaining, Noble, about an issue with setting, not story. There is a difference. A Grimdark setting is much like 40K, where there's a general framework that the stories have to be put in. Like there's a box.
Mm-hmm.
And then the story is about the individuals in a specific window. That's why I was bringing up the tale of the Children of Hurin, is that the universe of Lord of the Rings is not Grimdark. But if you take the context of the immediate point of the important parts of the story, zoom it in, and not think about what happens after the story, and you can see how it is a grimdark story would fit into that category. So is your issue more the setting or the story?
I don't know how to answer that.
It seems as though you might not have prepared. Is your answer to that question?
I don't have a good answer to that question because, like, I don't know. I guess you could say like the setting is like inherently bleak and the story is inherently bleak. I don't know how to answer that.
All right. So here's another topic we can discuss the pros and cons. Where I'm going. Okay, so what do you think, Noble, is the strongest aspect, the strongest pro of Grimdark, and Wissia and Dunn? What is the biggest con of Grimdark? So let's start with Dunn, and then we're gonna go with Wissia, and then we go with Noble.
Shall we say inherent problem or possible pitfalls that unskills?
A possible pit. When I say pro and con, it's like an issue, an obstacle you have to either overcome, or something that is easy for a pro. It's like it makes it easier to do it, while a con is an obstacle for a writer.
I would say if they write something in terms of the characters where they don't strike the balance between somebody who is very flawed and does bad things, as well as giving them some measure of redeemability within the awful setting that they're in. I think that is a major problem that Mark Lawrence falls into with Prince of Thorns, where Jorg is an awful sociopathic 14-year-old, and we're in his head the whole time, and he's mostly irredeemable, even though he has something of a tragic backstory. So I would definitely say that that's one problem, is that they don't strike the character balance well.
Yes, Wissia.
So this is more of a pitfall that you can easily do when you're writing a grimdark story, and it's what we in the 40k community like to call grim derp. It's basically when you're making something unnecessarily violent or cruel just for the sake of doing it, rather than contriving a proper scenario in which a character is forced to do something that they aren't going to like, but they have to do it anyway. There's a rather infamous and oft-forgotten example, by the way, that I don't even want to mention because I don't think it's canon anymore. Huh?
Demon Kimbala?
The Demonkula, that's a different thing altogether. I was specifically referring to the Grey Knights. The Demonkula is one of them, but the Grey Knights killing a bunch of Sisters of Battle and bathing in their blood to purify their armor or whatever, that is grim derp. That is stupid. It makes zero sense, and if anything, it would actually have the opposite effect. It's again, I stress, I don't think it's canon anymore, but the fact that we have that as an example of grim derp is, yeah, like I said, that is a pitfall that you can fall into. Just doing this. it's like violent porn or something like that, or torture porn.
All right.
That's a good question.
What's-
Should Grimdark characters have a balance? Sorry, I just really like that question. I think I don't know. We'll get to you in a second, Noble. Don't worry, I promise. But I don't necessarily think that the characters themselves are balanced, as in they're good people, but there needs to be some sort of balance where you don't lose your investment within the character in exchange for shock value. So that's my answer to that. Noble, you had something to say. Sorry.
Yeah, because I wanted to say, like, so I gotta be honest, like, I had a struggling to try and think of like the positives of Grimdark, but I will say I think that the aesthetic of Grimdark settings is very metal and very fucking like I love the aesthetic of like Grimdark settings. Like just you usually like this like they usually have like a lot of like gothic inspiration and like this kind of like like a mix of like like holy like cathedral and like satanic imagery and all this other like just hard hitting just ooh it's good and like just the visuals like look really good in a lot of Grimdark. I feel like if I were to just take a Grimdark setting and just look at the art and to just not pay attention to the story, I'd just like, oh my god, this fucking shit is fucking cool. But I wanted to address specifically what Wissia said about Grimdark versus Grimderp, because that story about the Sisters of Battle and the Grey Knights, like he was telling that story, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like something that would happen in Warhammer 40k. It sounds like there's some kind of dumb shit that they would do. Like, because, like, to me, I really can't tell the difference between Grimdark and Grimderp. Like, I feel like, to me at least, maybe this is a me problem. Maybe this is just I have fucked too much autism and I like am not able to see enough shades of gray, which is ironic because I have mild color blindness IRL. But regardless, it just seems like to me where it's just like that seems like completely in line with what the religious dictatorship imperium of man has been established to do, where they will do horrible shit as long as they see it as holy and as like as just, and they'll justify horrible atrocities, but oh yeah, but we did it in the name of the emperor, in the name of the don't you not want to be eaten by demons? It's like, fuck you, I'm gonna join the demons now because you're a fucking horrible piece of shit. Except I don't want to join the demons because they'll fucking do fucking weird, kicky, sick, sex shit to you with like Slanesh and fucking shit, and I don't want to do that shit either. That shit's fucking disgusting. So it's like both sides are fucking horrible, and I don't give a shit about either side. I don't want to fucking bash both their fucking skulls in.
There's usually a very great positive is that usually the bad guys are very, very detestable and they're easy to hate. That's one positive upside.
Yeah, but the heroes shouldn't be hateable either.
Well, they're not
Are they
usually.
hateable in some cases? Are they? I would say in at least many of the Warhammer 40k stories, such as the Demon Homunculi story, where these Space Marines are trapped in a
basically the main villain
lab.
is trying to overcome how to make Space Marines quickly, and it involves kidnapping women and that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Because that's like
thing that makes me want to fucking bash somebody's fucking skull. That makes me want to fucking bash a writer's skull in for writing that.
I mean, hey, at least you get
I turn my
rage
towards the writers for coming up with such a horrific idea, that I want to fucking like smash their skulls in instead of the villain skulls in. That's not.
I'm assuming you don't like horror very much, do you?
No, I don't really like horror that much, but that's more of a personal thing.
Oh, there we go. All right. So I actually do want to point out. So there's a little short story that I really freaking. There's a number of short stories actually in 40K that are that are pretty freaking awesome. One of them is no longer canon, but one of them is, and that is Rylanor's Last Stand. Freaking Rylanor, the Ancient of Rights. It's a pretty famous last stand in the story. So you remember the Horus Heresy and the freaking traitor. Yeah. So big Dropside massacre. Rylanor was a space marine from the Emperor's Children before they turned traitor, and then they turned traitor and tried to kill everybody involved. And Ryan Lenore is an absolute freaking giga chat who was not only resisted chaos corruption, but would soon rather, but also got a Thousand Sun sorcerer to trigger a virus bomb that killed not only all of them, but also the demon Primarch Fulgrim. Well, kind of killed him. I mean, he will come back. But yeah, basically Ryan Lenore had this virus bomb from the Dropside Massacre, which happened like 10,000 years ago. Holy shit. And he basically rigged it to detonate the second Fulgrim showed up because his father is a horrible, evil, psychopathic traitor. And after all of that, Rylanor still retains his honor and nobility, and even as Chaos is trying to corrupt him, he doesn't break. And his words were so inspiring that the Thousand Sun sorcerers who accompanied Fulgrim decided to betray Fulgrim. Which, yes, these are stories that just happen a lot within the setting because they contrive ways to make it happen. And it all functions within the universe.
A lot of why people seem to like 40K is the fact that there are a lot of heroic things that happen, even if they may not be for a good faction. There's a lot of times where Space Marines will make a last stand, sacrifice their lives, and in service of protecting other human beings.
And not to mention, you got like.
But in Halo, it's just like it feels like when Spartans do that, it's just like, when Spartans do that in Halo, in like the Halo books, it feels more like, oh, well, that actually like their sacrifice actually means something. It will actually like make a meaningful change to the status quo. Where it seems like Warhammer 40K, the status quo is that chaos is unstoppable, and that fighting against chaos is. You can't stop chaos. All you could do is slow it down. Like,
well, you're only talking about part of the greater Warhammer 40K setting. It's like there's.
And also, you're summarizing incorrectly. Chaos is still beatable.
Yeah,
you just don't you just don't like the answer. You just don't like the solutions to it.
The solution was the Emperor's man. Don't believe in the warp, and the warp can't hurt you. That was the solution.
Well, there's actually two solutions in the setting. One is the one that is currently in use, and the other one is the least popular one, which is to have multiple. But that is a whole can of words. There's like the idea of Warhammer 40K. It's first off, you have to think about it. First off, it's a tabletop setting. And you need to have an excuse so that everyone fights a war, a never-ending war. And also, theoretically, in order to make a war possible, everyone has the chance to have a win condition. And so chaos, and when you have a win condition, there's a lose condition. Chaos, like the faction that is deemed to be the most dangerous threat, is two factions that are not related to the Chaos and Imperium. They are the Space Terminator Egyptians and the Bug People.
The Necrons aren't.
Yeah,
The
I don't know.
Necrons had their lore changed
AKA the
significantly.
discount Terminators and the discount Flood.
The Flood are discount Tyranids. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The Flood are cooler.
Tyranids
Fuck
came
you.
before
They're
the
not.
Flood.
They
I know
suck.
they came before, but I'm still gonna call them the discount Flood. Because the Flood are cooler and scarier.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. Cool thing, buddy. Anyway,
Uh,
so there's actually the Necrons lore changed quite a bit. As a matter of fact, the Necrons have a method to permanently defeat chaos.
Yeah.
They just do. The only issue is that it's probably going to kill everybody in the galaxy except for them, but whatever, big whoop. They don't care.
But then you can't pick the Necrons because the Necrons are unfuckable robots, and you need to pick the side of humans.
And you know what, Noble? If that's your criteria, you can go fuck yourself.
Oh my god! What?
Yeah,
What?
no, this is the thing.
That is how you pick packs? Really? In a tabletop war game? You go.
Yeah,
Like,
this
Noble,
is what I was-
I'm sorry,
this is what I was dealing with.
I have to ask you. You decide to become a miniature war gamer, okay? So you go to your
if I were I'm gonna stop you to answer your question. If I were to play the Warhammer 40k tabletop game, I would play the Repentia sisters.
They're not a faction. The Sisters Repentia.
Or if I play fucking if I'm going to play Street Fighter, I'm gonna pick fucking Cammy White. Yeah, I'm gonna or fucking Chudley. Why? Because I like hot women. It's as simple as that.
So okay, that's actually okay. That is a very good point. The Emperor's strategy to beat chaos is ignore them, which doesn't really work.
Yeah, because chaos has its own will, and look how that turned out. The Chaos Gods absolutely fucked over the Emperor's entire plan.
The warp is only based off of like, the warp is based on like the beliefs that people have, and like it's kind of like, so if people like believe in a bunch of superstitious stuff, then that superstitious stuff is eventually going to like evolve and it's all gonna like be absorbed, and eventually it's gonna form a chaos god.
And that should take time.
But if you don't believe in any superstitions, if you think that superstition is gay and that it doesn't exist, well then the warp can't like form anything because there's no superstition.
Well, it will form something. It'll form a god of anti-theism.
So I would actually
god of
push back on
anti-theism
that.
is going to go on Reddit and post cringe.
Be a cringe lord, yeah.
Yeah, that's not that bad actually. That's a pretty.
I think.
Wait. Would the god of anti-theism have an existential crisis of questioning its own existence?
That's the funny thing about the warp. It's very, very paradoxical in the way it works because it's the freaking warp.
There's also the nature of you don't have to believe in Slanesh and Khorne in order to feed them. You just need to do the acts that feed them. Sexual depravity and violence feed them regardless.
So, the Imperium Commando inherently will punish you for being a blind, deceitful question.
So if there's a fucking pedophile who, regardless of whether or not he's worshipping Slanesh, it exists and is trying to molest children, and I've come up with a fucking shotgun, I'm gonna fucking blast his fucking head off, is then Khorne just gonna come around and is like, yes, kill more pedophiles? No. Even though killing pedophiles will not feed Slanesh.
Pause. Ninja had something to say. Ninja, please go.
It's more of like if you keep doing it repeatedly, like all the time, and then because it's a slow road. Like in the way it works is that you may have like a good intentional desires, because in the way Warhammer works is that even though the writers keep failing to point this out, but the Chaos Gods are supposed to have a positive and negative side. So with Khorne, he is an honorable warrior. That's why he likes you to go more direct, confront a person, then kill him. While the other Chaos Gods doesn't care about that. And like they care about other things. So for Korn, if you were he could encourage you to go kill more pedos, but if you keep hunting them for the purpose of it, and then over time you could fall into chaos if you're not unconsciously doing that. It's a slow process.
It's like falling to the dark side.
Yeah, just think of that.
And also, I also just want to emphasize a point. The Emperor of Man was not based. In fact, he was kind of cringe. His solution to getting rid of the Chaos Gods was genocide the religious.
Yeah,
the worst parts about the Imperium of Man is because of the Emperor. The best parts of it is because they're human.
That's the biggest funny thing about the setting is that the Emperor would hate the current 40k setting.
Yeah, and
but it was also built on his ideas.
Maybe the Emperor is like some like reincarnation of me or whatever, and he's just God, these fucking religious people.
No,
that's rich. Noble, this conversation is canon in Warhammer 40,000. I just want you to know this.
wait, this one right here, this fucking live stream.
Yeah, no, the modern real world is canon in 40k. You understand that, right? And again,
the modern real world is canon in 40k. Well, then I'm sorry, but like,
you're not him. You're not him.
40,000 years ago, we invented better guns that have actual stocks and that would actually not weigh like 80 fucking pounds.
Okay, keep complaining, keep mauling over there. We don't care.
Okay, back on the topic of Grimdark. All right.
Yeah, let's try to focus in.
Okay, so we talked about setting and some flaws. How about what Noble?
Yes.
Other than them being evil for the sake of evil, why don't you like Grimdark characters?
That's literally the reason, or they're evil because the writers want it to be bleak and dark. That's like you summed up my distaste for it.
So,
do you understand why?
So, how do you explain the appeal of the Song of Ice and Fire, or First Law? Like, just how do you
I don't know anything about George R.R. Martin. I know very little about Game of Thrones, if I'm being honest, mostly because I just don't give a shit, because again, I'm not a big fantasy guy, and it's a fantasy where it's like kind of edgy, and it's like, yeah, I don't really give a fuck.
Okay. Do you have any actual other examples other than Warhammer or Tokyo Ghoul?
Shit, we don't know much. Tokyo Ghoul. The Boys.
How about... All right,
so let's talk. The Boys is a dark satire. It's not really grimdark.
So that's like the case of the Boys, and even like early on Warhammer is that they were supposed to be satirical, because the idea was for the Boys in case it was written by the guy who hated the superhero genre in comic books.
Yeah, Garth Ennis is kind of an edge boy. Like that's his thing.
Like
also, the comics are terrible by all accounts. I haven't heard any good things about the comics.
It was only good if you were collecting comic books around that time, because all the critiques were like people who were collecting comics at the time. Nowadays.
Yeah. And for the most part, my understanding of the Boys, it's Billy Butcher trying to kill people who he thinks are bad. That's the point of the whole thing.
Has anybody talked about the Watchmen yet?
Watchmen isn't grimdark; it's gritty.
I'd say that's pretty good. It's pretty freaking grim dark.
What about
Well, 'cause-
Rorschach though? Rorschach is based.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Even
And then
though
they
he's
killed
the-
him.
Even
Yeah,
though he's
because
the
fucking
character that Alan.
what's his face? Grand Wizard himself is fucking cringe.
Dr. Manhattan.
No. The guy, the
Ozymandias.
fucking author. I can't remember his name.
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, that bastard. He's a fucking wizard, and he's fucking cast a fucking like curse on Watchmen or whatever, and he's just a fucking weirdo.
He's a crazy communist. We can move on now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just a
He doesn't
old school
do-
hippie.
He doesn't know why people loved his story.
Yeah, he also doesn't understand why why people think Rorschach is based, because he is based.
Yeah, and Rorschach
Yes,
is
the guy who burns a person
Yeah.
alive.
he also holds some interesting beliefs. He's pretty fundamentalist in some of his outlooks on life. And you think he's based, correct?
Because he's the only heroic character.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, this is
Why
interesting.
is Rorschach? I don't know very much about Watchmen other than the reviews that I've seen, but from what I've seen, Rorschach is a monster. He is a horrible
is.
person.
Then why do people like
Yeah.
him so much? Why is he the most liked
Because-
character?
Because he has a code. He isn't just going around doing bad stuff simply for the sake of doing bad stuff. There's an end point to it, and that end point is something that, yeah, I guess not everybody would have issues with that. But also,
He was willing-
it's
because
the contrast
here's the
between
thing: he
him
wasn't
and others.
willing. He was unwilling to compromise his belief for the perceived greater good at the time. That's why he died, because
Yep.
because the bad guy did his scheme before the heroes even got to them. That was like the big twist: is that you think that the heroes are gonna stop the villain at the end. Turned out he wasn't somebody waiting for the heroes to show up, because he was basically the Batman equivalent. And then he's like, okay, here's my plan to save the world, and it seemed to be working at the time. Like the comic literally made it so that it worked. The world was heading into a positive direction, and if Rorschach got out, told the truth, it would actually become worse, because so he ended up dying.
Yep.
Okay. I have a question. Do you guys consider Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance to be grimdark?
Not really. That's just edgy.
No, the
Do
universe
you
of
guys
Metal
think
Gear is
Armstrong
not
did nothing
grimdark.
wrong?
Huh?
Do you guys think
What?
Armstrong did nothing wrong in Metal Gear Rising?
Armstrong was going to start a giant ass friggin' war and he did a lot of things wrong, but you can understand his reasons.
He literally kidnapped children to make cyborgs out of them.
Right, but
Yeah.
he's doing it all in the
He's
name
pretty
of
evil.
Listen,
So,
His
Noble,
motivation is
so-
actually pretty understandable, because he believes that people
He's still
shouldn't be,
evil.
like, forced to like.
So
Hold on. Let me
so-
explain. Let me explain. Stop. Bitching.
Could okay.
Hold on, I actually want to stop right over there.
Explain
I'm sorry.
this to me.
Okay.
I'm very interested.
All right. So, Armstrong's philosophy is that he doesn't like the fact that like the current culture is like controlled by the government, and that like everybody's kind of just like forced to like blindly like follow their allegiance to the United States of America, and American imperialism, and that he kind of like hates that there's all these pointless wars over like technology and like because governments like try to get more votes, and they're like the news is like like the news media is lying to like so that the military industrial complex and the government can like continue waging their wars and whatnot. And so he hates this kind of political system. And so in order to destroy it, he's essentially like feeding this system until it like fucking collapses in it on itself, and then America will become this like anarcho-capitalist safe haven where everybody will just like go around like killing whoever they want, who's the bad guy, you know, and like doing whatever they believe is to be virtuous. And that's exactly what Raiden is doing. And he's the one like he'll just like go around, like he doesn't care if they're working for the government. He's like doing whatever he believes is right. He'll kill whoever he needs to kill in order to save those children. And Armstrong and Raiden have the exact same ideology. They and that's the whole point of the song. Like it has to be this way. Like during Armstrong's boss fight, like they believe, they think the lot alike. They're not too different. Like Armstrong and Raiden.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right?
Yeah,
but there's a key difference is that the worldviews that they espouse. Armstrong was okay. I'm actually going to quote Camelot here, Linkara's favorite film, apparently. Armstrong is for might makes right. Raiden is might for right.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and just follow up with something else. I'm just going to go ahead and quote Jack Raiden. You're batshit insane. That's pretty much just that is pretty much the thoughts that I have on the freaking Armstrong. It's like, oh, that's a lot of cool motive over there, sir. You still kidnapped a bunch of children and forced them to become cyborgs.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Am I backing up with the source? Yeah. My source is that made the fuck up.
There we go.
Yeah.
I love how the fucking Flanderized meme versions of the characters are still somehow like believable and in character. Of like these like.
My
we know because
what you're describing is the exact motivations of the Imperium of Man.
Yeah, like
but they're not trying but Armstrong isn't trying to force a religion on people. That's different.
He's trying to start a war that will get a bunch of people killed in the name of his ideology. And kidnap children to do it.
Is freedom, so it's kind of based.
They're both might makes right, or ends justify the means. One's a secular thing and one's a religious thing. There's no difference. Fundamentally.
Yeah. The difference is I agree with one of them. The other, and the difference is the other is cringe.
The other is we don't. Again. Yeah, and it's also wrong too. The other is we don't want people to become murder rapists. So let's go ahead and we also want to save humanity from a bunch of evil things that want to kill us. So we're all going to go ahead and follow this religious creed, and we're going to hate these things over here because those things over there will not even give us a chance to negotiate with them. So fuck them.
Yeah, but why can't we have like a voluntary where I don't have to participate in these religious rituals that I can negotiate with the
you could just choose not to
12-gauge shotgun.
Oh, you could just not.
What's wrong with your religion? What's wrong with having a religion where you have standards of behavior?
Because you guys try to ban pornography.
It's not just porn. It's not just
you guys try to ban. You guys like to ban anime titties, and you like to ban. You guys like to ban fucking violent video games like Doom and Wolfenstein, and you guys like to ban shit like Dungeons and Dragons and Harry Potter.
You mean some?
Yeah, you mean some. You mean a very specific.
Some back in the day. Some back.
Oh yeah, well you can't. Yeah. Don't play.
A very very small and fringe group of people.
No, like, do you even know conservatives? Do you even know SJWs? People?
Because
other than
SJWs
what people told you, like a funny meme culture. Because I am a conservative. I am raised Christian. I was raised in those circles from the early 2000s, which had a different subculture than the mainstream.
Noble, you need to keep in mind, you're in a chat telling 3 religious people what they actually believe, what you're telling them is not at all what they believe or what they think is right or wrong. Just because
and it wasn't even the truth. It was just a couple of mainstream popular preachers at the time, and then guess what happens? Do you know what happened to those same preachers?
Got ridiculed.
Turns out they got ridiculed, and it turns out they didn't practice what they preach.
Yeah, and then they were hypocrites. A lot of them lost their jobs. Because why? Because Christians have a high standard even among themselves, especially if you're preaching the word of God.
Where the fundamental principle, one of the major fundamental principles is even to look upon a woman is lusting after her and therefore a sin.
That's retarded.
Why?
Because if I see a chick that's hot and I'm like, damn, she's hot, and then you're telling me that I can't think that's a fucking thought crime, well then I'm sorry that your religion is gay.
Do you even know what lust is? Okay, I'm losing my cool right here. I'm supposed to moderate, but at this point, do you even know what lust is? Do you even know the struggles of trying to maintain your moral code? And you have to dealing with sin every day.
Here,
I don't know. I think that if your moral code is like not allowing yourself to think for yourself.
Oh
no, there's a difference between thinking with your brain and thinking with your dick.
Yes, exactly.
You're trying to repress your thought. That's not true.
It is true.
That is true. You don't know. Here, let me go and just define all this stuff for you really quickly.
Nerves in your dick. Your dick don't have nerves.
You know what the expression even means?
That's not how that works. Your sexual desires are still in your head. You're still in your brain.
Okay, Noble, thank you very much. Your tism is showing again. The point is that it's a figure of speech, basically saying that you're not being rational, you're just getting extremely horny, and you're going to be doing irrational things because all you can think of is banging. And that's what lust is. Lust is an excessive sexual desire
but if I
towards
see
a person.
A girl and I'm like, ooh,
and that's bad.
Nice tits.
That's fine.
So can I correct you? Lust is just desire to possess something, and just sex. Action is different.
Right, but there is.
Extent, I'm not finished. May I continue?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Lust often doesn't take into account the lady herself or the man himself, whatever the case may be. Love is very different. I think that this actually sums it up well. Let me see. So, lust is just driven by sexual attraction, physical surface level relationship, disinterest in knowing the other person, and doesn't fundamentally help you in anything. Love is driven by strong emotions. It's a deep, intimate relation, and interest in forming a strong bond. That's the fundamental differences. Sexual attraction is a stepping stone, but it cannot be the entirety of a relationship.
Okay, but
no.
yes, and so in order to say step 2, then she has to be a tomboy, and then otherwise she's not worth pursuing, because only tomboys are worth dating, because tomboys are based and women are cringe.
Okay.
I'm talking about. So hold on. You'd rather take a girl who's very, very boyish. Noble, are you trying to tell us something?
I'm telling you that I am 0% gay. There's a shitpost meme video that backs up my point. Now,
Okay,
sure, it's a
so
meme, it's a joke, but
everybody
it does make a
shush.
compelling
Everybody
argument.
shush.
Stop.
Okay, so Ninja, you had something to bring up. Sorry.
No, I just said stop.
Fair enough.
All right,
So-
well, he accused me of something, and I just had to make it clear that I'm not a fucking homosexual.
I wasn't accusing. It was a joke. Relax.
Tomboys aren't gay, by the way.
I know. Motherfucker, I also like tomboys. It was a
Yes,
joke.
and see, you're based. You like tomboys. You understand. You understand why tomboys are superior to girly girls.
There isn't a binary dichotomy between the two.
That is
Yeah,
true. Tomboyism is a
there's-
spectrum.
No,
There is
women
a-
are on a spectrum of personalities.
Yes, there are different kinds of people. There are different types of people and different types of women. There are some women who are tomboyish, some who are classy, more into like old Victorian sort of stuff, and then there's the really girly girls, and then there's the trad wives and all that other stuff, because that is humanity.
Yes, and out of all of those, the tomboys are the superior.
No, that's your favorite. There's nothing intrinsic about being a tomboy that makes that woman more worthy of being called a woman than the others, or better, for that matter.
I mean, I could make that argument, but that's not the point of this stream.
Yes, could we please continue? Okay.
Yeah, let's.
I want no more talks about religion or tomboys. So help me God. I'm supposed to
sorry.
moderate this, and at this point, I'm losing my temper.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, Ninja. I'm very
Hey,
sorry.
man, do you need to take a break?
So.
All right. So, I got a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think Grimdark is mostly seen in a fantasy setting? And I count Warhammer 40k as fantasy. It's a space fantasy.
Basically, yeah.
So, why do you think Grimdark fits better with a fantasy setting than a sci-fi setting?
I think that a fantasy setting is more cartoonish, and so when you have something that's so cartoonishly bleak, it doesn't fit in a setting that's like kind of like supposed to be realistic. So you kind of have to, if you want to make it cartoonishly bleak, you have to have it like a cartoonish setting and environment so that cartoonishly bleak things can happen in the first place. It's like, oh well, we have like cartoonishly evil demons that like will do cartoonishly evil things.
What's your threshold
I'm gonna go
for
back.
cartoonishly evil?
Well, Grimdark shit. That's like
That's
Okay,
not an answer.
but
Please
not
get specific.
okay,
Yeah,
not
that's
in
circular.
the Grimdark. He's asking the definition of when a person or a work becomes from grounded plus full on cartoon logic.
when something is not becoming when something is gone from being grounded to being cartoon logic. Well, I would say is when you go from being grounded to cartoon logic, is when you stop implementing stuff that's like necessarily based off of like, you know, like that's inspired or based off of real life or whatever, and you just start taking stuff like it's like just pure like speculative, and you take something that's like based off of real life and you just flanderize it, or you just make it like just as absurd and like crank it all the way up to 11. That's when it's cartoonish.
Okay, so basically, Halo is cartoonish, is what you're telling me now.
I mean, kind of, yeah, but not cartoonishly like bleak. But yeah, it's cartoonish in other ways. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And so basically all of speculative fiction, which encompasses both sci-fi and fantasy, is now cartoonish.
It depends on how. No, not really.
Okay.
Like,
Could
So
you provide some counterpoints, Mr. Noble?
okay, so what I mean by like cartoonish is like mechs is an example of something that's like cartoonish science fiction. Like mechs are so like ridiculously cartoonishly implausible. Like the square cube law and the fact that like just the complex motors and shit that you need in order to have them move and like the maintenance that they would require and the fact that they're just a very high profile target and the fact that the driver, the pilot, is so high off the ground that if they fall, like they that they're more likely to injure themselves, so that they're just a less
so you're thinking of
practical like military vehicle than like an actual like fucking like tank or like a car or like a truck or something.
Okay.
It's
so you're
just such
thinking
a
of a Gundam
cartoonish idea
suit.
Yeah,
that
but okay, I
has
do
no
have a
basis
question
in reality.
about that. Okay, we're gonna talk. So I'm gonna present to you two sci-fi settings. One is a tabletop setting, and one is Gundam. But what they do provide, Gundam, as you probably know, is all anime stuff. But they do provide both settings provides they both provide the reason why the universe works this way. Battletech, if you look at that series, actually has a more detailed explanation about, and that is more basis on realism about how they overcome those obstacles. Would you consider, while Gundam is a little bit more hand wavy by introducing another made up sci-fi element, would you consider Gundam cartoonish, more cartoonish than Battletech?
From what I know about BattleTech, like I don't know, the mechs from BattleTech.
There's an easier example for him.
Uh,
Titanfall. The entire setting of Titanfall utilizes mecha suits that are piloted by pilots.
yeah,
They
Titanfall's
are
pretty
functionally like. Would you characterize the presentation of everything within Titanfall as cartoonish by nature of them having titans in it?
I mean, like the story isn't cartoonish, but yeah, the setting itself is very cartoonish.
Okay, so the Titans in the original Titanfall and in Titanfall 2 are cartoonish.
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, you being cartoonish and being like bad is not like cartoonish is not like a complaint. I said that Halo is kind of cartoonish. Like you have these like fucking aliens with gas masks that
I
scream
would
and
call
like, cower as you fucking shoot at them.
I would call Halo hilariously cartoonish in some areas. Like the entire especially the Covenant. The Covenant are cartoonish to me.
They are kind of cartoonish, but that's kind of what makes them fun.
It's not kinda. They just straight up are.
Yeah,
They're
they are.
They're kinda.
Yeah, like
They're kinda
Covenant
grounded,
have
but not
character
really.
and personality. Like that's the thing. Like they have to have character and personality to make them interesting. And they kind of like flanderize that character and personality of the Covenant.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I bet they do have.
We might as well.
personality.
Okay, I got an idea. Okay, so you're saying that the Covenant has no personality in Halo, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring up a 40k faction. You probably know them. And they are very similar to the Covenant. They're an alien race, all about assembling for the greater good. The greater good.
Cow.
Yeah,
They're lame.
there
They
it is.
suck ass. They're like a lame, boring version of the Covenant.
Why?
Because the Covenant, embody what's like evil about like the Imperium of Man, but they also have like the multiracial slave army of the of the Tau Empire, and that the fact that like they have like these like alien races, and that like each alien race like you could kind of like character like like they have a sort of caste system, like, and like each alien race is very distinct, that has a distinctive silhouette in the Covenant, and they all have like you could kind of like associate a certain personality archetype with each alien race in the Covenant, and they're all like each of the alien races is like has like funny dialogue in like all of the games, where they'll like say like funny shit. Like if you throw a plasma grenade and it sticks to one of the grunts, we'll run away screaming, "Ah, not again!" And shit like that. You know, they'll
Yes. So basically, yeah.
I'm
the,
not
the
hearing
Covenant
anything.
like they're more
I'm not
fun
hearing.
and like entertaining, and like they're kind of goofy. And the Tau, they're like kind of serious and like boring and not fun.
Okay, so your
So-
It kind
complaint
of seems as
about
though you
the
just don't
Tau-
like a lot of high concept media.
Yeah. So his complaint about the reason why he thinks that the Tau Empire, and I'm going to put this on record, the reason why he thinks the Tau Empire is lame compared to the Covenant is because their entire faction is not comprised of those small little cartoonish little grunts who get absolutely fucked by absolutely everything.
No, not
Instead,
even
they
the
have
grunt,
cool,
but
awesome
like
mecha
even like you have
suits.
the brutes, like but you have the other species of the Covenant too, like
I
the
know,
brutes, the
I'm
jackals, like
I'm
the
making a
elites, like
dig.
and the elites, like in the original first game, like the fact that they
Oh
would
my
like
God.
that they would talk like
Okay, we
and
get
say
it.
funny
Okay,
noises and like that shit, and they were like
Okay,
these really
okay, we
imposing.
get it.
Okay, pause,
Noble, we
pause,
get it.
pause. I will know. I muted him. Don't worry.
Oh my god.
Sorry. So,
I'm going to stop
So-
instigating.
so I'm kind of sensing a lot of personal preference stuff. I'm not hearing anything objective in terms of anything other than just I
But
don't
I
like
think those,
X because
but I think those like things that maybe are personal preference do make it objectively better.
Well, you see, that's the thing over there. You're conflating your personal emotions with a statement of objectivity, which is
Yeah, because
really,
I
really
don't know. Like
stupid.
I think
You
like
don't
based off
do
of
that.
these things that I believe, I think that these like this makes this objectively better because it's more fun and it's more entertaining and it's more whatever it is.
By what
for
standard? As in,
you,
okay,
Yes.
what standard? As in, it attracts more people, or it does it arise emotions that society needs more than the other? Like, what's
As
the
in
standard?
it holds more entertainment value. Actually,
entertainment
I'm gonna bring
value.
up the orcs. Like the orcs in Warhammer 40k, I fucking love them because they're like, they are a fucking meme, and like they have they have some charm and personality to them, and of course they're really goofy and shit. Like they are very cartoonish. And there's that one like fucking 40k meme like by like Adeptus ridiculous where they're just like the orcs like are just like chanting I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank as they're getting like because like the fucking guardsmen are like are yelling bang and they actually think they have ammo. Like that's absurd. That's hilarious. Like it's a
And
it's
that's
a
also canon.
panderization of the orcs, but it still feels like the orcs because they have a sort of like personality and character to them that's unique to them. That isn't just
Yeah.
the greater good.
I'm not seeing the difference between the 3K. I don't.
Yeah. It's like, so basically, you don't know the personality of the Tau Empire, so you think that they don't have one.
If they do, they don't. It's not as interesting as the Covenant's personality. Like I don't even know what the species of the different like. That's how like nobody talks about the Tau species in the like their empire. Like they're just not that interesting apparently.
Well,
yeah,
that's-
because
okay,
Games
okay, so-
Workshop, that's a Games Workshop problem, okay?
Oh,
Games
yeah,
we're
Workshop
talking
does
about
not
a
give
Games
the other
Workshop
races more
problem.
attention.
That's can I speak?
Okay.
Sure.
It's a Games Workshop problem that was compounded by the fan base because the original idea for the Tau, the fan base did not like him at the start. The idea of making the original pitch was This is a fledgling new empire that showed up, made up about all these peoples working together for the greater good. They were kind of pitched at the beginning as the quote unquote good guys of 40K, and the drawback of them was that they were naive. They were new to the greater galaxy, so they're going to be easily taken advantage of by the other faction. Then they changed it because people did not like that. And so two things. People liked the mechs that they brought, but they didn't like that they're too much of the goody two-shoes of the setting. So they changed them up so that their ethereal class mind controls people using pheromones or psychic powers, minor psychic powers, whatever. And then they kind of lean into more of the communist theme with them. And then in terms of their models, focus heavily on the mech suits. So that's pretty much any new model of the Tau is not
they are bringing back the Kroot, though.
Yeah, they're bringing back the Kroot to be more prominent, but the original pitch was, here's a big multi-alien army that has mechs, and then they made it into mechs.
Which, to be fair, the mechs are pretty freaking awesome anyway.
Yeah, I just don't find mechs to be that this is a subjective thing. I don't really care about mechs. Like, mechs, I see them as just kind of dumb and boring. But except in Titanfall, where they're fucking cool, or in Pacific Rim, where again they fucking beat up fucking big kaiju. That's fucking cool. So I don't know. I guess to compare that to the Covenant, the Covenant are kind of cartoonish villains, and the fact that if you have an alien multiracial empire that's kind of a caste system, I think that they kind of should be characterized as villains, and the fact that they take the religious fanaticism as the unifying principle of the alien caste system in Halo, i.e. the Covenant Empire. The fact that you take that aspect and you combine that with the interesting aspects of the Tau, which is they're a multiracial caste system, which and then you give each race a certain personality and a certain character archetype. The grunts are these little squishy cowardy creatures. The jackals are these fucking asshole mercenary type alien pillager type aliens. The elites are these honorable warrior types that make silly noises in the original game. And then the brutes are these fucking barbaric kind of gorilla rhino bear things, and they're really tough. And then the hunters are just they're just these
broken
human tanks, or these walking tank things. They're not broken. They're actually really easy to kill.
Fuck the hunters.
No, they're
freaking
really
shitty game design.
They're really fucking easy. They're not shitty game design. They're really easy to kill, especially in the first game where you can just fucking shoot them in the back once with a pistol.
Yeah,
and they're
okay.
fucking dead.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
So let's
I'm just trying
move
to
off of game design. And Nippy, get back.
We're not talking about that now. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I know. I'm just trying to. So I'm just
We're trying to define your position.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're saying that Grimdark is because right now you're saying Grimdark is bad because I don't like it, and everybody should listen to me. Is that it?
No, I'm saying that Grimdark is bad because it's bleak, and because it has and in 40K's case, what little quote unquote hope that they give you is also equally shitty, which is you either join a fucking fanatical cult, where you worship where you worship a fucking human empire, where you worship a dead guy, or you join a fanatical cult where they fucking torture you and fucking kill you to death with sex and disease and other horrific things.
Okay, so how about? And you said you didn't like horror, right?
I don't like horror as like, yeah, that's a subjective thing. Like, I don't like. It's not really my thing. Like, I don't really like. I'm like, oh my god. Like, I will watch like horror movies. Like, I love the movie John Carpenter's The Thing. Like, that's a really good movie. I love that movie. But I don't like go out of my way. It's like, man, I really want to watch a horror movie. You know.
But you know that horror films could be technically called grimdark stories. Like even
Yeah.
if like the person survives, there's always that
They're
last
horribly
notch.
traumatized. Oh yeah, that too.
Well, I mean, but
The
if
horror
they
movie
were,
monster always comes back with the sequel.
but that's because they're horror and they're trying to scare you. That's their
Like-
function. If the function of if that's the case, then the function of Grimdark would be to make you want to fucking kill yourself.
Why?
Okay, what about dystopians?
The purpose of dystopians is to make you realize that you should care about politics. Okay, good dystopias like fucking 1984 make you like teach you the dangers of or make you aware of the dangers of authoritarianism so that you can point out like when you see like your actual government in real life acting authoritarian and doing the shit in 1984, you could kind of like recognize that pattern and then you could do something to stop it, or you could just let them take away your freedoms and let them enslave you and do this other horrible shit.
Okay, but also by your logic and arguments from before, you could say that the point of 1984 is to make you want to kill yourself because it's bleak, there's no hope, and it doesn't matter what our heroes did, they fail at the end and they all die. And they don't die, they just go back to conforming.
Well, that's
Well,
okay.
And to a fanatical cult, by the way. I would like to remind you of that.
Yeah,
Right.
and-
Okay. So, but here's the thing, though. Like, for the most part, they portray our heroes as like having like virtuous ideals of freedom and like rebelling against tyranny, and fighting against that. And the whole reason they fail is to show you why you should be afraid of big government and like total like a tyrannical dictatorship in the first place, is because once this dictatorship is established, it's not gonna like just go away because like a few people decide I'm gonna like I don't like this, I'm going to fight against it. No, everybody has to like kind of know about this and like despise this thing and fight against like this sort of fight against like these sorts of ideologies because they don't just go away so easily. They're like their entire establishment, like they are like they're dangerous, they're a threat. And if you're gonna have a fantasy setting where it's like, oh, there's no hero, they're not fighting against authoritarians, or the heroes are authoritarians, they don't have any virtues of their own, they're not like any like they don't have any sort of virtues, like they're just kind of assholes fighting against people who are shittier assholes. Like, I don't really see why people would care about that. That doesn't seem really interesting. They're just it's just like why should you care about that?
You know, I'm just
okay,
going to
so
say, I have not
okay,
yet
let's
found-
bring. I'm gonna bring up
Can I-
another setting.
Can
Cyberpunk.
I have not?
Cyberpunk 2077. It's people label it a dystopia, and I was like a warning about corporatism, extreme corporatism,
Hold on, can
and
anybody
it
hear
can
me?
also be called a grimdark setting. Would you agree? Do you agree that it's a bad story?
Hello?
I am sort
yeah,
of.
I hear you,
So
Liz.
my experience with
Okay.
the Cyberpunk 2077 video game is very limited. However, I do own the Cyberpunk 2020 rulebook, and I have watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I
Yeah.
would say that
Very depressing ending,
yeah, but I mean like
and the bad guys pretty much won.
And they're a corporation,
Like,
not
okay,
an
but,
authoritarian
yeah.
government.
Yeah, but like cyberpunk is like anarcho-capitalism, because like the government doesn't
That's
do
a
shit
that's a
or
terrible
whatever.
argument. Please try again.
And it's,
Yeah,
it's also not
yes, but it's a
anarcho-capitalist.
dystopian warning against that.
Yep.
Well, but they don't okay, but like capitalism is not evil, and that like people don't in fact, capitalism is only able to do evil things when government allows it to do it. If you don't have a government, then you can't allow them to do evil things. I don't know.
Okay.
The cyberpunk doesn't understand economics. That's what I'm gonna say.
Maybe
But
it
cyberpunk
does.
is fun. Especially like the role-playing game. Like, I like the Cyberpunk 2020
But
role-playing game.
But here's the thing. A lot of elements in cyberpunk you can see in our current day, and it's not just because the government, man.
That's a good question. Is King Lear Grimdark? Is
What's King Lear?
Richard III?
Oh, you were talking about historical figures. Yes, the feudal Europe and feudal Japan and like the medieval era was absolutely fucking grimdark. That's why we call them the Dark Age.
No, wrong.
It's called the Dark Age because we don't have any information on it.
It's called the Dark Age because of our good friends, the Victorians, which that setting you could define as grimdark. And the Victorians did a lot of projecting in the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages was pretty bad, but it's not grimdark.
You mean like Victorian as in like Victorian London?
Victorian as in the era.
Yes, Victorian era.
Okay, so but that's like during the late 19th century.
The second industrial revolution. The ones the ones that Charles Dickens wrote about and critiqued a lot.
And then the one that also made slavery obsolete.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
but we got child labor as well.
Which that also became obsolete due to industrialization.
No, it was not because of industrialization.
It's very complicated. We're getting political now.
Yes, where I'm just saying, like it seems to be your definition is all about your personal definitions. Like cyberpunk is not grimdark because capitalism is good, but 40K is grimdark because religion is evil. So it seems like this conversation is basically over.
We did have somebody who really wants to come on. May I allow him in?
Who is Crimson?
The more the merrier.
Who is?
But no, you're starting to Ninja. You're starting to see what I'm getting at over here. A lot. I've noticed with Noble is that a lot of his beliefs, basically, a lot of what he finds good or bad, is built off of whether or not it agrees with him, and has a hot tomboy in it that he can fuck. That's it. That is the criteria. That's what I've noticed about his criteria.
I'm gonna call this debate. I think this debate. This isn't even a debate anymore, so I'm gonna head out.
Okay.
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 Have a good day, everyone.
Sorry about this. Okay.
Hello, Crimson Scorpio.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I apologize for my insistence, but I had to address some of the historical literacy going on here. So where to begin with this? So we all know King Lear is a play by Shakespeare, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not like lunatics. Okay, good. So yeah, that began with that, right? So just for anyone who's wondering, the term Dark Ages comes from us most particularly from, I want to say Petrarch, who is who's an early Renaissance figure. He's usually cited as like the first Renaissance thinker. And he wrote that at the beginning of the Renaissance, he wrote that his age was the coming out of a long dark age. Right? That's actually where we kind of get that name from. Although yes, we use it to refer to the fact that history we have much less historical records of the time than we do other times. That is accurate.
Yep.
It does not come. Yeah, like now the demonization of the Middle Ages comes slightly from the Renaissance, but it comes. You can see an evolvement of this over time, where the Renaissance wants to sort of play up themselves, right? And then the Enlightenment wants to flex on the Catholics. So the Protestants want to flex on the Catholics. And then the Enlightenment wants to flex on the religious, the old religious world. And you can see that kind of go until now we have modern thinkers wanting to flex even on the Enlightenment. So,
but people who want to flex on the Enlightenment could go fuck themselves.
People who flex on their ancestors are degenerate. All right, people want to hold themselves above their ancestors. It's cringe and it's disrespectful.
Yeah, and that's something that we do a lot, unfortunately.
Yes, and it's a common habit, right? Now in King Lear, right? King Lear, for anyone who doesn't know what happens in King Lear is effectively what we might call it's a political apocalypse, right? The king loses power, and the entirety of the world like descends into chaos and evil, right? I mean, is that Grimdark? I mean, like everyone, like the old man dies at the end. His favorite daughter, spoiler, obviously he dies. The only daughter who loved him dies. It's implied his most loyal servant will commit suicide. Right? I mean, is that Grimdark?
I don't know.
I hate to be on topic, but
I know nothing about this. But you say that it's degenerate to shit on your ancestors. You only shit on people who had shitty ideas. So like somebody like Adam Smith or like Thomas Jefferson or like George Washington, these guys had fucking great ideas. Or yeah, like John Locke, like these guys are like fucking based giga chads who had good ideas, and some of them like went on to create the greatest nation to ever exist ever. And so yeah, these guys should be fucking celebrated. And then other people decided it's like, oh yeah, what if we had this idea where people don't own property, and we just have like some magical like collective entity that just owns everything, and then those people should actively be mocked for having shitty ideas.
I'm happy
to Karl Marx.
I'm happy to terminate Karl Marx from all correct thought. So I'm not going to tell you that like people haven't been incorrect in history. I'm not going to say there haven't been villains of history. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think the point of saying that shitting on the, I think the point he's trying to make in saying shitting on your ancestors is degenerate, is that you're just sort of shutting off your critical thinking skills a little bit, because what a lot of people do is that they look back in time and they see that the people back then didn't figure out some of the morality that we have today. And so what we do is that we go look back at them and it's like, oh, they were so stupid. They were morons and idiots. It's so obvious. How could they figured it out?
Yeah.
And this is also a logical fallacy.
So
it's
wait, no.
It's called modernist snobism.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though. Like even before the Enlightenment, like liberal ideas were still a thing before the Enlightenment. Like the Magna Carta is like part of what inspired like the Bill of Rights.
And some of those liberal ideas are enshrined in religion.
But and then like obviously a lot of the United States of America is also based off of like the Roman Republic and then like the Republic of Greece, which is like far before the Middle Ages. And so like the fact that like the Middle Ages are regressive, that's why it's okay to shit on the Middle Ages.
The Middle Ages are caricatured as regressive, but that's just not true. Like we know that there were more. For example, we know that there were more agricultural innovations under the Middle Ages than under the Roman system, because the Romans weren't all that great at that. We also know that like the Roman state degenerated into like what we could equivocate. Like I brought this up on this with you guys before. Actually, the Roman state degenerated into what we would call a military industrial state, not even like a good one, not even like an effective one. By which I mean like Shakespeare's plays even talk about this, right? His Roman plays even go into this. Like the Middle Ages. Like, are we going to sit here and talk about like Augustine and Avicenna and Thomas Aquinas as being like regressive thinkers?
I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm not saying that Rome was perfect. Like Rome did like when Rome stopped being a republic and started becoming an empire. Like
the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic was one of the most despotic and like brutal regimes ever. Like ever. Like, and I'm not saying that they're wrong for that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's wrong to build empires. But like the romantic, the Enlightenment, especially like you know like the Enlightenment romanticization of the pre-Christian world is kind of cringe. Like it's not good. Like the Middle Ages were a lot more.
Wait, no. Some Enlightenment thinkers like thought that or like came to their conclusion in their beliefs because of God. Like they said like if man is created in God's image and God is free, then therefore man is free. That's like that's an Enlightenment idea. So
yeah, I know. I'm not. Certainly there were religious Enlightenment thinkers. I'm not. Listen, I am not trying to shun the Enlightenment. I quite like. I'm a system engineer. I quite like systemic thinking. I do like constitutions, even though, despite what Paul Atreides may say about them, which is taking us way far afield. But the point about King Lear, the point of King Lear isn't like it's a critique of. I know exactly who Sulla is, and like dudes like Sulla is maybe one of the most under talked about. He's maybe the most important pre-imperial general who never gets talked about and needs to be grappled with. So what Sulla did was he so Sulla was this is a lot. So Sulla basically was the first to march on Rome. He's usually characterized that way. And what he was an optimist opposed to the populares. And he was off trying to fight the Pontians, the people of Mithridates, the people of northern Anatolia, right? It turned out that he had to basically march back into Rome with his army and start cracking skulls. And the famous scene of him is that he's in the forum and outside all of his political enemies are being proscripted and they're being killed on the Tarpeian Rock or whatever. And he's like, this is a restoration of the Republic. And they're all like, yes, this is a restoration of the Republic. So the Sullan Constitution was a sort of late Republican reformation of the Republic. Now, the issue, that's tyrannical and that's extremely subversive and that may be very troublesome. However, what's at play here is that his enemies was Marius. And everyone who plays Roman Total War has heard of the Marian reforms. And the Marius was the guy who basically made the soldiery a professional class. This is a problem because now the soldiers aren't citizens paying for their own loot. Paying for their own equipment. They're soldiers paid for and provisioned by the government, which means they're really being paid for by the generals. And Sulla's constitution does kind of fail ultimately because Caesar's eventually able to create, Caesar eventually has a professional army and he uses it to march on Rome. But he's not someone easily dismissed as just a dictator. Because he acted specifically to safeguard the fundamental institutions of the Republic. More than Marius, and the populares who were basically, like Caesar is Julius Caesar himself is a hard person to grapple with because we can sit here and say that like it's a question of how much you value the form of the Republic. Because by the end of the Republic was hideously corrupt. So why not take it over? But that's a whole deep discussion.
Okay.
But that's just Sulla.
Thanks for enlightening me on this little bit of history. I will say that I don't want to like make it sound like I'm one of those like huge big Rome fans, because I'm not.
No, that's fine.
I
I mean,
will
like, I like
acknowledge
Rome
that
too.
Rome was flawed. I think even during the Republic era that they still had slavery, which if you've read it, if you've read up on economics like I have, you'll know that slavery hampers economic growth, and that it only makes a select few people at the top very rich, but it does not make the entire country rich. And it'll in fact make the entire country poorer, because those people who are working as slave laborers will not be able to have the wealth that they can use to reinvest into the economy and help the economy grow.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Like slavery does
Yeah.
not really become abolished until like even in the Middle Ages. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
become
no.
abolished until the advent of Christianity. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
Like, that's
no,
just true.
like slavery. But yeah, no. So like understanding, like, yeah. So no period in history, like every period in history is gonna have its like faults, but like you can kind of like, I'm not gonna say like the Rome was perfect and that they were like great, but they were they were on a sort of like, you could say like that the Roman Republic was on a sort of progress towards like what would eventually become like later become the Enlightenment, and then like corruption happened, and then like the Roman Empire happened, and then like the fall of the Roman Empire, and then the
I'd
Middle
say that's a
Ages,
bit of
and
an
then all of these
illusion.
ideas that would have brought like civilization to a greater, like to a better standard of living, kind of just like either were just like forgotten over time, and like they had to kind of be like rediscovered and relearned and like
Yeah,
rediscussed.
this is a little tentative. Like people of the Middle Ages understood concepts like political discourse and even liberties. Like nobles understood that they had rights, right? Like even like just to like, you know, like I'm going to jump around crazy. I want to address this guy about that last question about the emperors being the protection of the republic, but the like even in the anarchy leading up to the first one of the English civil wars, right? Like it was not like nobles understood that oaths taken under duress were not binding, right? Like they understood this in the early Middle Ages. And like the ideas of like,
And
you know,
we're gonna
We are
I'm gonna
getting
go
a
ahead
little
and
bit
tip
off
out.
topic.
I apologize.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought the previous conversation was over.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
I'm
No, I
gonna
don't
go.
mean to- I don't mean to take
I
anyone
thought
off
the
topic.
conclusion was that Noble is a dipshit, as is always the conclusion.
I'm not here to say that.
Not necessarily that. Not necessarily that. It's just that you're uneducated, uninformed, and poorly researched.
And you really need to stop making a habit of talking shit when you know nothing about something, because you will get hit.
The main
That's
problem.
the fundamental reality.
The main problem with this discussion is that you brought 2 IPs to this discussion. We have brought at least 4 to 5.
Which,
The problem
yes,
that
that's
is
fair.
And you fundamentally don't understand one of those 2 IPs, or
You also-
possibly even both of them.
you also don't understand the appeal of Grimdark, where it's mainly a lot of the Grimdark fiction that is popular. Warhammer, Song of Ice and Fire, First Law, Lives of Locke Lamora, is about a universe where bad things can and will happen, but people will still try to do the best they can with the circumstances that are dealt to them.
Yep.
Yeah, the other appeal of Warhammer specifically is that it's also very, I mean, you can say it's gothic, you can say it's baroque, like it's very vivid visually, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's
I
that's
even
a
praised
genuine appeal.
Warhammer's like art design. I like, for the
Yeah.
most part, aside from like, I don't really love the design of the Space Marine armor, and I'm not a huge fan of the design of like the bolter as a firearm. But aside from that,
That's
I really love the art style and the art design of Warhammer 40K. I think it looks really good. I think it has a mix of like science fiction and like medieval, like gothic, like art, like design, and it looks like, you know, this like kind of like holy cathedral like art design. It looks really good.
Yep. Also, Space Junk over here puts in another point. The appeal of Grimdark is the light at the end of the tunnel, which, yeah, I agree. Pretty much every single Grimdark story has an ounce of hope in it. Like, there's optimism. There is an endpoint where all this terrible bad stuff will come to an end.
I mean, is that distinction between Grimdark then and like actual true horror?
Mhm. Yeah.
Horror is, as a genre, is designed to elicit, well, horror.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
No, but like my favorite scene in any horror movie, right, is the scene in Alien where, spoilers, it's revealed that Ash is a goddamn robot. Because that scene is the scene where we get that amazing line where, where Ash goes into his orgasmic description of the xenomorph, where he talks about it's a perfect organism, right, unclouded by delusions of morality and that kind of stuff, right? And the implication there, and the reason why that's so good, and that's the true horror of the piece, is that
I admire its
What-
purity, I think is the line.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
I admire its purity. I can't lie about your chances, but yeah, my sympathies, right? But the idea there is that what's being said theologically is that the alien is the way creation is supposed to be, right? And if we would use the most poetic language, we would say that the alien is actually closest to God, right? Not us. And the horror, the compounding horror, is that Ash and the corporation and the various conventions of civilization that they represent are actually trying to become more like the alien than like what we would expect good people to act like, right? That's the thing. Like, there is no, like, in that single scene, right, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no, like, it's not that, like, yes, I know that Ripley escapes at the end of the movie, like, done, but like the implication in that scene is that the universe is supposed to be, the alien isn't the aberration. The alien is what the universe is supposed to be like. That's true horror, right?
No, I understand that, and I actually am a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft, believe it or not. And again, I also like John Carpenter's The Thing. I guess I have a very specific style of horror that I like. That's just that I don't find like the typical slasher movie to be all that
I mean, I don't like slashers either.
interesting.
Like,
Like, I don't know. It's just like typical like spooky Halloween shit. Like, it's just like, nah, give me something like, if I am gonna watch horror, give me something that's more existential than just your typical.
I mean, it is why I don't like.
So
I don't like The Exorcist compared to Alien, right? Because in Exorcist, it's like I watch The Exorcist and I'm like, I don't like. Don't get me wrong, it's very unfortunate what's happening, but I just feel contempt for the demon. I don't like I'm just sitting there going, man, what an asshole, right? Because like I know that like in the context of the story, God's the demon is there. I know God is there, right? Like, what's like what am I like? I know like yes, I'm obviously I don't want that to happen to anyone. If it could happen, I'm not saying it could. Like hypothetically, I don't want that to happen to anyone. But like the demon does not ultimately have power. That's not how that by the whole premise of God, right? So I'm not like afraid. I'm just holding the demon in contempt. Alien and also The Thing, which and like a lot of like H.P. Lovecraft. I love Lovecraft, right?
Yeah.
They propose a radical transformation of those concepts, right? Yes, the xenomorph must be purged.
So,
but yeah,
I think that we can probably consider this like fairly covered, and the lesson learned is please bring more. If you're going to discuss a genre, please bring more than just 2 examples in the future.
Yeah, this was kind of like me just. This is kind of like me just judging the entirety of the fantasy genre based off of the Hobbit films.
oof.
Which, you know what, compared to what we have today, it's probably a lot better.
Why would you do that?
Or even just read something, or even just read the thing that you're critiquing to try and understand why other people like it.
I mean,
Since it
yeah,
seems
I
from your description of 40K, even just from somebody who has only ever read lore synopses, it seems as though most of your complaints with 40K are based on third-party information that didn't describe the setting well, or even specific stories within said setting.
That's probably because that's probably because that might be true. However, if Wistia is correct about Warhammer 40K, I still hate it because the only solution to fighting against demons should not be, oh, we should just have a religious dictatorship. No, there should be practical solutions like using guns and
They do use guns.
violence, and then
That's what they do.
That is,
yeah, and then you should also just like be able to kill the demons before they can possess you or taint you or whatever this other bullshit.
Yeah, but you could also just be a good. Yeah, you could also just be a good, decent human being, and you won't get possessed.
Yeah, you could be a good, decent human being, but yeah, but the also when it
that is
they also
that
said
is
that
literally
there's
the
like,
logic
positive
of the setting.
aspect of like you could still be a good, decent human being. It's like you could still do things that would feed the chaos gods.
Yeah, just barely. It's like giving a guy who's dying of thirst a drop of water, versus being an evil, horrible person. You give them a whole ass iced water bottle. Like, the trace emotions that humanity experiences in that setting is not enough to feed the chaos gods. They need you to be a full-on degenerate.
Okay, well, I just need to not be a full-on degenerate, which I am not a full-on
Yes.
degenerate. So,
and also,
that's why I'm not an SJW.
Praise God.
Yeah, thank God. But I also wanted to point out another thing. A religious framework is also a good way of keeping people from becoming degenerates. And you can still be a critical thinker and be religious at the same time, by the way. Like, people in this chat exist. Me and Dunn are both religious, and I don't think you'd call us uncritical.
There's also the problem of most of the religious thinkers of the past 2,000 years have been religious.
In the Middle Ages, theology was considered the queen of the sciences.
No, I even I understand that, and I even stated that in early Enlightenment, so the various Enlightenment thinkers would argue oh well, if man is created in God's image and God is free, well then therefore as man is free. They would use religion to justify their beliefs, which I don't believe in doing that, by the way, because that's a theological appeal to authority, essentially. And it's not going to convince anybody who is not already a member of your religion, so it's not necessarily a good argument.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I can definitely say that is a fair assessment. Maybe one day we will actually go over some of the research around porn addiction and discuss it.
You have to give me exactly how many hours a day or whatnot, or how many hours.
It's not a precise science because everybody's brain is different, but the effects are going to be the same. It's like me saying, okay, so you may of your own free will and choice smoke cigarettes. You are going to get tar coating your lungs regardless of what you do. Ooh.
That's dumb. I could play video game. That's not how video game addiction works. You could play.
Video game and porn
you're
is
assuming this is why we're not. Nope. I don't want to ever talk about this because you're just thinking about it like cigarettes and drugs, or I'm thinking about it like video games and media, like it actually is.
Yeah, those can also be drugs, man.
You do realize
that's the
thing. Addiction. So
video game these dopamine feeds can be drugs. Like porn can be defined. I'm sorry, pornography can be best defined as what would like it's using the semblance of art to feed you dopamine, or effectively happy chemicals, like whatever you want to call it, endorphins. Right? That's actually that's maybe the definition of pornography.
Oh, also,
it's
speaking of pornography, Wissia, did you unblock me?
no.
Oh, for fuck's sake, unblock me.
Also, that guy in the chat who James
No.
Knighton, if you want to talk to me, I don't know why I can't find you on Discord. Just
I think it's
have the
Dr.
same name.
His name's Codex.
Try Dr. Dodex.
Okay, I'll find
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wissia, I'll just
Alright,
send you
now.
a tomboy pic, so they
So
You have a Discord server of your own. Use it.
But I like sending you pictures.
That's very nice. I don't want to receive them.
Okay, well then you're gay.
that's the best you can come up with.
Hey, if you don't want to see hot women,
I'm gay
then you're
because-
gay. That's
I'm
the
gay
law.
because I don't want a bunch of degenerate shit constantly filling up my Discord notes. Nice. I'd rather look. I already have enough degenerate
Degenerate
bullshit
is
within my
art.
life. No.
It is
Shut up.
fucking
I already
art.
have. I said shush. I already have enough of a degenerate bullshit within my life already, Noble. I don't need you adding to the pyre. Okay.
I'm not degenerate. I only find the
Oh my
greatest
God.
of tomboy art that represents the beauty and purity of tomboys and tomboyism.
Mhm.
Would you characterize yourself as being a fanatic?
I-
Look, if there was a church of tomboy,
We're talking about the Roman Empire. First.
look, I would probably be the church of tomboy. Sure, yes.
Great discussion about the Roman Empire. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have thought about the Roman Empire
So
this
to
week.
tie it back into Shakespeare, place I got off this topic before I have an aneurysm. Like, so fun fact, right? Shakespeare's Roman plays, which is Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, and Antony Cleopatra, which I love. I love Antony Cleopatra. Right? Traces the transformation of Roman society from republic to empire along thumadic erotic lines. Now, what the hell that means? Thumos. So we all know what we all very obviously know what eros is and the erotic drives are. Thumos is the other irrational part of the soul in Greek, in like Aristotelian and Platonic thinking, right? So you have the erotic drives, you have the thumadic drives, and they're supposed to be governed by the logical drives of the logos, right? You all know what the logos is, right? And the idea here is that thumos is the other irrational part. I'm saying this again, right? The thumos, like the erotic drives, are like the desires to take things into yourself, right? It's not just sex; it's to eat, it's to it has a good like properly channeled through the logos. It can have good effects, like it's where we get art from, right? But the thumadic drives are the drives that want us to distinguish ourselves, right? It's the thing that drives Achilles to get pissed at Agamemnon in the Iliad, right? It's the thing that makes you want to draw a line in the sand and say, I ain't going there, right? And the idea in the Roman Republic is that it was a purely thumadic society, right? Everyone is obsessed with being the best, and everyone is obsessed with proving themselves. Now, what are the problems with this? The problems with this are, one, it creates a constant demand for fighting, right? There's an incredibly metal line in Coriolanus, which is the most, which is the Roman Republic at its height, so it's the most thumadic, right? And it says that, and there's a great bit where these plebs, the peasants, are talking, and they're like curse peace. Above all, because it makes men hate each other, that they no longer need one another, right? And that's that's kind of unusual to us, I suppose, because we may think of peasants, we may think of non-nobles, plebeians, as wanting to not be interested in the Game of Thrones, so to say, right? But that's not the way he's talking about this society, right? And one of the things that happens over the course of the Roman plays is that the plebeians become less and less politically active. The imperial system requires the reduction of the plebeians from active participants in society and political life to being mere, not even subjects, but spectators. In fact, no, it's the reverse. And even to the point where they're even irrelevant. By Antony and Cleopatra, there's no mention of there's like one mention of the plebeians in Antony and Cleopatra.
Okay,
right?
I hate to interrupt you, but like, is that because usually when people use the term plebeians now, like it's like to refer to like idiot normies or whatever.
No,
is
I'm
this
talking
where they?
about, no,
It's a
I'm
specific
I'm just trying to
class.
clarify. Is this like where that phrase comes from? Like it referred to like
Yes.
a certain social
Yes.
class.
Yes.
Yes,
This
so
is
the
what
Roman,
it refers to.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to
So
say
the-
yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Yes, the Roman, yes, so the word term plebeian comes from us. The Roman political system was divided into two classes, the patricians and the plebeians. Plebeians were the lower classes, and the patricians were like the noble families of Rome, okay? What I'm saying, when I say the plebeians are politically active in the Roman Republic, what I'm saying is that even the lower classes are politically engaged. And the entire society is totally dedicated to the excellence of the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is that, again, part of the making of the empire is that the plebeians become spectators, and eventually they become not even spectators, they're like totally irrelevant, right? And the other thing that happens is that the leaders become increasingly erotic, mostly in Antony and Cleopatra, because Antony is someone who is transformed by the erotic presence of Cleopatra in his life. Okay, and then what happens
Cleopatra
is,
was white, by the way.
I know Cleopatra was Greek. Okay,
Yeah, we are.
She
aware
wasn't
of
white,
that.
she's Greek.
I'm just telling all the SJWs that might.
Nobody cares. Nobody hears an SJW.
exactly. All right, Cleopatra was descended from a long and pure line of Macedonian Greeks. So where was I? I'm sorry. So Antony and Cleopatra, right? I mean, there's lots of cool things that happen. So yeah, this is what I was going to say, right? What happens, the thing about the thumotic life and the thumotic character is that it doesn't provide, by not feeding the eros, it takes away a lot of the interiority of the characters. So the Roman plays have, like, no one really does a soliloquy in the first two Roman plays. Like the closest you get in Julius Caesar, there's a bit of rhetoric from Brutus and Cassius, but those are purely rhetorical speeches. They're purely rhetorical, right? They have a position they've already thought of, and they're trying to justify it. By the time of Antony and Cleopatra, you have real longing for things. You have characters really soul searching in their scenes, and eventually, by the time you get to like Hamlet, which is obviously not directly in line with the Roman plays, but you can trace an arc through Shakespeare's plays about this. Hamlet, by the time you get to Hamlet and Macbeth, and even Othello, you have characters going on deep soliloquies and really questing after things, because the political life no longer serves to satisfy all the desires, because it can't. It naturally can't. Politics cannot satisfy all your desires in life, believe it or not. Right?
Yeah, no shit.
So there's a deeper yearning for their characters. And another thing, like, here's another interesting thing from Antony and Cleopatra. There's a lot more, by the time Antony and Cleopatra, more characters are interested in like I don't say the principles of things. So like to use an example, right? Coriolanus is interested in winning battles and kicking ass, right? By the time of Antony and Cleopatra, there's a whole bit where Barbus, Antony's lieutenant, talks about the nature of loyalty. And he talks about how Antony is being ridiculous, because he is being ridiculous in the play. And he's going to lose to Octavian. And he, Barbus, is ridiculous for following Antony. But the way for Enobarbus to... Enobarbus cannot truly know if he is loyal to Antony, if Antony's going to win. Because then you could say that you're only loyal to someone if you're going to win. So the way to actually know if you're really loyal is to follow someone into loss. And this would never happen earlier in the Republic. Right? The thematic character, the thematic drive of the figures has deteriorated. Right? There's other great bits in Cleopatra. I love Cleopatra. I'm sorry if this is like totally boring you guys.
It's fine. It's fine.
I am going to go ahead and hop off now, though.
That's
because we've well and truly strayed off the original subject. So, yeah, may as well at this point. All right, it was a pleasure to be on, Done. Thank you very much for letting me on. Goodbye, everyone.
All right, let's call it good for tonight. See you guys later.
Fair enough.
All right,
All right,
see
see ya.
ya, I guess.